Chris Walby, how you feeling? Welcome inside Game Day Winnipeg. We are live on Bonfire Sports, getting set for, well, I will say it, Chris, the most anticipated game yet this season. It's the West Final, the BC Lions in Winnipeg to face the Blue Bombers, the young upstart team, the team looking for a three-peat Grey Cup championship. All of the players are healthy for the most part. Everybody's going to bring their best game. How are you, sir? And what are you maybe most looking forward to in this one?
Well, I think, we talked about this earlier in the year, DB, the fact that we said, wouldn't it be cool if Nathan Rourke came back at the end of the year and, did some magic? Listen, he didn't have a super game, but he protected the ball well in the game against Calgary, who had the number one running game. When I thought about it, I went back and watched that game again. I had to question some of the calls that the Calgary made, especially on the third down gamble. Instead of taking 3 points, they would have been down 13-9. They go for that, basically a sweep and get stuffed. But I was impressed with him. I think Nathan Rourke now with another week, a full week of practice, there's no more talk about his foot because it's do or die, right? I expect Nathan to take off with the ball a little bit more than he has. I thought his comment was great. He was very prudent. He said, the cold weather's going to be good. My ankle will be frozen. So, I think it plays well to them. But listen, you're coming from that West Coast, DB, you know as well as I do. And you're coming into probably one of the hardest places to win, the 28-2 in the last, 3-4 years at home. And then you got the weather to deal with, the cold weather. I mean, they had +7 and they had jackets and they went for rides and sea-doos.
Oh, that was months ago.
Was it? Oh, I thought it was now. I was like, what? Oh, my God.
They're just trolling Winnipeggers, right? The rivalry is real.
Okay, I see. Okay, well, you're smarter than I am because I looked at it and I thought, my God, what a way to get ready for the West Final.
Well, because our old friend Nick Kowalski of Bonfire Sports, of course, now the has always been outstanding videographer, but now working for the BC Lions. And they've had a lot of fun this year with their digital media and their social media and the rest. But when it comes down to it, Chris, these are the two best teams in Canadian football today. These are the two best quarterbacks in Canadian football today, and they're going to be playing at the stadium with the greatest fans, the best atmosphere, and frankly, the most ideal Canadian football playoff weather conditions you could ask for. No wind, light snow, a little bit below zero. It's going to be absolutely perfect on Sunday. And want to mention this, we have a pair of tickets to give away in just a few minutes here on Game Day Winnipeg on Bonfire Sports. Got a pair in the lower bowl right around the 10-yard line. It's going to be like opposite corner to the Rum Hut. So if you want to go to the Rum Hut, you can stay warm around there. Or if you want to have a little bit more of a game experience, you can be on the 10-yard line in the lower bowl. Really great seats and a pair of those tickets to give away. But, you couldn't ask for a better matchup, Chris. I truly believe this game will be the Grey Cup. Whoever comes out of Winnipeg on Sunday afternoon is going to hoist the 109th in Regina in a week.
That's interesting you say that too, because over the years that I played, the West Final was always the big game because you just wanted to get to the Cup. The Grey Cup was a great game, but it was almost, I don't want to use it, but it was almost anticlimactic. It was the fact that we finally got to the Cup. Then you take care of business. But I still remember 84 when we went and played in BC, in the Dome, 55,000 people, and they shoved towels under our door inviting us to come to the Grey Cup party with the BC Lions before the game. And, of course, you know how that turned out. We actually came and we beat them there with our special helmets. But it was just was an incredible atmosphere. And I think it's one of those games that always, to this day, stands out for me. I just think the West Finals are just the finals are. It's a culmination of all your work from this training camp and your off season. And, it's one game. And I know I'm not taking anything away from the semifinals or anything like that, but I think the finals, this is it. To go to the cherished land, to go to the promised land, you got to win this game. And like you say, top two teams in the league. You got, 15-3 and 12-6. Great matchup with two great quarterbacks, as you say, two great running backs. I'm putting Brady in that category now because he really has run the ball extremely well in the last 10, 12 games. And then you look at the depth of receivers the Bombers have. See, I think BC
too.
BC's got some great receivers, but I think they're going to miss Lucky Whitehead because he's that deep threat. They got clutch receivers. I mean, this Keon Hatcher kid, and then they got Alexander Hollins, who's really playing well for him right now.
Yeah, he had a big West Semi.
Oh, yeah, and they got, one of the studs is obviously Burnham and obviously the other guy, the other slot back in Dominic Rhymes, who I think is second in the league in receiving. He's second in second down conversions behind Dalton Schoen. So, I mean, it's a matchup. It really is. And you talked about this, DB, and I'm not trying to cover everything in one sentence, but you talked about in the beginning of the year that you were really impressed with the BC secondary. You like these guys because of their experience, and, they really communicate well back there. They're going to have their work cut out because I think Zach can just pick his poison. There's so many options to go to.
Well, let's talk about some of these questions we're getting from people here in the live chat. Thanks to everybody out there for joining us live. Yeah. Your chance to win 2 tickets to the game on Sunday coming up in just a moment. I'm also going to announce the winner from those that watched Bonfire midweek with myself and Zach Schnitzer back on Wednesday. We got a $25 gift card to Shannon's Irish Pub. And big shout out to Shannon's because they have signed on to be a sponsor of ours this season. And they are going to be open for the West Final, so you can win that gift card. Head down there. They'll have the game on all the TVs, and they're going to give away more gift cards as the night goes on. So if you're there and you order a drink or food after the game is over, you decide to stick around and enjoy yourself a little bit afterwards, maybe in celebration, you could win another gift card there. But awesome food, the wild boar burger and the venison burger are must-try items. They've got awesome wings, great food, not your regular pub food. You're going to get the opposite of a chain restaurant experience there. Really, really fantastic stuff. 21 beers on tap, tons of whiskey. I was just going to mention that, Yeah, tons of whiskey choices. Of course, Chris, that's your favorite part, right?
Well, I just thought that's why I saw the first thing that pops out. I love their emblem, first off. And thank you again to Shannon's for being a sponsor. But I love it. It says 21 beers on tap because you go out there and you can try different ones. I know they have they'll have the sample pack where you can get a 4 or 5. But yeah, I tell you what, that should make anybody excited to go to this place, as you say, for the food. And I've never had a wild boar burger, so that's something that I definitely have to put on my list to do. So great to have them on board. And I tell you what, if you, as you say, if you can't get to the stadium, go down to Shannon's and grab a seat and bring your friends and have a great time. And, you don't have to worry about the cold. You don't have to worry about the wind, and you're going to have hot food and cold beers.
No doubt. No doubt about that. It's going to be an awesome Sunday for the West Final. Bombers and Lions getting things going with a 3:30 kickoff live coast to coast on TSN. Yeah. Here's the deal, Chris. We've been doing this at 3:00 every game week, the day before the game here on Bonfire Sports, midweek 7:30 Wednesday nights. We're going to continue all of that going through to the Grey Cup. Post game this week, game day after dark, will be a little bit later. So don't fret if you get home from the game and game day Winnipeg or game day after dark isn't going with a post game show. I've got some CFL.ca camera duties to attend to myself and the outstanding writer for CFL.ca, Chris O'Leary. He and I shot a piece today, shot a piece yesterday. We'll have post-game analysis up on their YouTube page and CFL.ca. So we will get to game day after dark, myself and Zach Schnitzer, a little bit later on Sunday. And then, of course, Chris, you're going to be joining me from Winnipeg because you're hanging out with your boys, taking in all the festivities of Grey Cup week here in Winnipeg. I will be in Regina all week long. We're going to have tons of content up on the site. It's going to be fun.
I will say this too, DB. In the years before when I was covering the game with CBC, I had the great fortune to go to Saskatchewan for a Grey Cup game, to do a game there. And I got to tell you, if there's a city that likes to party and really wraps himself around the Grey Cup, it is Regina. People come from all over. You go to the Agridome. It's a wonderful time. Great people out there, and I guarantee they're going to put on a heck of a show.
Chris, do you have an indication of how this game might go? Everybody's been talking about weather. Everybody's been talking about Nathan Rourke's foot. He admits he's not 100%, but won't put a number on it. I more look at the run game of each of these teams. Everyone's talking about the quarterbacks, and admittedly and rightly so. They're the marquees. But James Butler and BC's rejuvenated run game, I would say rejuvenated because they've looked really dangerous since Nathan Rourke came back. And then, of course, Brady Oliveira and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who are going to be physical and nasty up front, dictate that physical level at the point of attack. And Winnipeg earns their stripes on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. I'm really looking at the run game as being a critical part. What say you?
I agree with you on that. I think it's really interesting when you look at that. You look what the BC defense did against the vaunted Calgary running game. They were the number one run team, in the CFL. And BC, even though the Calgary didn't run the ball that often, and we thought they'd touch the ball, we thought Kadeem Carey would be basically carrying the ball a lot more in Calgary, but he didn't. But when they did run it, I thought the BC Lions did a great job of stuffing it up on the line. And I actually, the head coach of Calgary said the same thing. Dave Dickinson said, you know what? They knew we were going to run the football, and they loaded up the box. They had everybody between the tackles right on there, taking every gap away. And that worked to their advantage. I don't know if BC can do that with us. We run so many sweeps with the slot back, with Dembski come around, and it's good to see Dembski back in there. I'll give him a little plug right there. The fact that you did, look at the receiving core. You got a great Cub vet in Greg Ellingson. You got Dalton Schoen as rookie of the year, probably this year was guaranteed. They just got so many receivers. And I think if Zach if you give Zach time, and I find it interesting that the Bombers are dressing 7 offensive linemen. They usually only dress 6. That's normally what you do. You carry one guy. They are actually going with Chris Kowalski, who's back. We know he's a big physical presence, and Liam Dobson. So if they want to go double tight to establish that running game or give more protection to Zach back there, because Matthew Betts and Tehima, those 2 outside rushers from BC are really getting after. They got 8 and 7 or 8 sacks apiece. And then you got David Menard. They can get after the quarterback. So I think it plays to Winnipeg to have a couple extra guys in there. And, maybe they're going to alternate some guys. I don't think anybody's nicked up because they've basically had one game in 3 weeks. Basically time off, you get a game, time off. So if you can't, the Bombers are as healthy as they're ever going to be.
No question. It'll be interesting to see how the BC Lions approach things from that defensive perspective, Chris. As you see here, Woody Barron back and healthy again at nose tackle. Matthew Betts, who came over from Edmonton this past year, outstanding Canadian. And you're right, Tehuma. The first name always escapes me. It is Sion Tehuma, very athletic and impressive player there on the defensive end. But let's be serious. The BC Lions' strength on the defensive side of the ball is in the defensive backfield. Gary Peters' numbers this season, outstanding. Marcus Sales, we know what he can do. Lucius Purifoy, one of the best athletes in the Canadian Football League today. TJ Lee, in the words of Gary Peters today, Chris, down at IG Field, TJ Lee, the heart and soul of the BC Lions. Edwards Cooper lining up at the other corner, but Delvin Breaux not healthy enough to play in this game. To me, this is the strength of the BC Lions. While the run game will be important, the defensive backfield of the BC Lions, they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's. We know how good Zach Collaros can be extending plays outside of the pocket, finding, if Rasheed Bailey is in or out, game time decision. But of course, Nick Dembski and CFL leading receiver, no doubt rookie of the year in Dalton Schoen, who have just been magic on some of those broken plays.
Well, and that's the thing. I think you hit that right on the head, DB, and the fact that you talked about the way Zach extends plays. Looks like he's getting sacked or he's getting pressure. He rolls out predominantly to his right side, his throwing arm, and he always seems to find somebody. And then, the receivers are so in tune with him that they realize that, and they never give up on the play, and they adapt on the go. That means they come back, find a hole somewhere, find an opening in that coverage, and Zach has been magnificent all year getting the ball to these receivers. And I don't anticipate that's it's not going to change tomorrow. I think they're going to have – Zach could have a field day. Remember, this is a big hyped-up game in the beginning of the year when they're all healthy. And this was when Nathan Rourke was really throwing the ball. And I think they beat him, 44-22 or something. So, listen, the Bombers, if they're on all their thing, and as you say, they're firing on all cylinders, I don't know if anybody can stop them. I just think they're that good of a team. This is a dynasty. I talked to Kathy Kennedy with Bobby Cameron, and we both agree. I don't think we've ever seen a team this strong, as a former Bomber. We had good teams in 97 and stuff like that, or not 97, 87. But you look at these guys, and there's no weakness. And then we haven't even talked about, I know we'll get to them, but the special teams. Janarian Grant has had a field day against these BC Lions. He's got 2 return touchdowns against them, and he's one of those fearless runners. He gets the ball, he's straight up north, and he's got speed. He gets missed the first guy missed, man. It's game over. So yeah, it's crazy. But I agree with you. I think the DBs of BC, but again, it plays hand in hand. DB, you know this as well. If they don't get pressure from the front, and I believe they're going to bring a lot of blitzes. I believe you're going to see Williams and Haladic and Ragumba, who's really playing good, the outside linebacker. They're going to bring a lot of guys. They actually bring a lot of the secondary on blitzes as well. We know TJ Lee likes to get in there. He didn't play last week against Calgary. They rested him. He's healthy. He's happy. So, I mean, there's such a chess match going on here between, obviously, our Buck Pierce and their defense coordinator. So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a fun game to watch. I'm excited to watch this game, and I just hope sometimes, the anticipation and then the game doesn't turn out as well as you anticipate. And I don't think it's going to be I just want it to be an exciting game. I know it will be, but it's just, I'm almost like I'm playing again. I'm getting jacked up before the game.
Well, it's easy to get jacked up when, especially if you're a Blue Bombers fan, right? For those out there, this team is so wildly entertaining. The Madhouse on Matheson, its reputation precedes it. It is the loudest. It is the craziest, and it is the most daunting stadium in the Canadian Football League to enter, and it goes beyond the crowd. It's the team you have to face. For the BC Lions, that task will be tough. That said, Chris, I do want to mention Rasheed Bailey, listed as a game time decision, has kind of been in and out of practice for the last couple weeks, but boy, has this Blue Bombers schedule late in the season worked to their advantage. They've been able to get healthy. They've been able to rest guys. And the advantage, I think, in the rest versus rust cliche or conversation or whatever you want to call it, is that the Blue Bombers don't look at it that way. If there is one strength of this Blue Bombers team stronger than anything, it is their mental focus, their mental engagement, and just how strong I think the focus is from the leadership. Goes beyond the coaches. It's to those players in the locker room that they go to work every single day and go out and get the work done. But for Rasheed Bailey, game time decision. If he can't go, they may choose to activate Greg McCrae off of the practice roster and put Bailey on the one game. They could decide to add at a different position and just give a little bit more action to a Brendan O'Leary orange and that sort of thing. But let's remember, it's not a huge deal. They want Rasheed Bailey healthy and ready to go, and it'll come down to how he feels Sunday morning. But about an addition to your receiving core, how about this guy? Number 2, Greg Ellingson, who when healthy and playing this year was so good. He has done it year after year, has familiarity, former teammates in Hamilton with Zach Collaros. They got a little bit of chemistry going, him and Drew Wolotarski in that regular season finale at IG Field. Each caught a pass on kind of that trademark across the middle. But Greg Ellingson, what a monstrous addition to this Blue Bombers receiving core.
When you watch his interview yesterday, I was watching, and he's just so calm, cool, and collected. He's been there before. He's been to the dance. He's done great things. I know he won a cup with Ottawa, and, he does a great job with them. Everywhere he's gone, he's been a magnificent player. I think he's a 5-time 1,000-yard receiver. And, he's a guy, like you say, has that connection with Collaros. But I think the biggest thing is he's such a smart player. A lot of times you got guys that run fast, and they can, do a down and out or down and up or run a corner pattern. But you have to understand the defense as you're leaving that. And you got to understand, is it a zone? Is it man? Do I have to shift over? Do I have to adjust? He does a great job of that. Every game that he's played this year, he's made one big catch. And it's always somewhere open, and Zach finds him. And they just have that thing. And now you put the other side, when you got, Dalton Schoen, who just every game, 16 touchdowns. What more can you say about the kid? So they got talent. I didn't know. I'm glad you told me about Rasheed Bailey, because I didn't know. There hasn't been a lot of talk. Obviously about how he's beat up. I know you've been there. He's been in and out of the practice roster, but I can't see Rasheed not wanting to play. He'll
want to play. He'll want to play.
but you don't want to save a guy. See, that's the thing. I mean, I understand what you're saying there too, but does
Chris,
a coach go,
the greatest ability is availability. And if a guy is close and then you dress him and he gets nicked up early in the game, you're suddenly down a guy.
Yeah, they got so much depth, though, as you say.
Yeah,
I know there's some. I'm reading some of the comments here, and they're really excited about Greg McCrae maybe having an opportunity. Good speedster, does a good job running the ball and catching the football.
Versatile.
But they don't lose anything as far as I'm concerned. If putting Brendan O'Leary Orange in there, big guy, he's got great hands. He's really come onto his own a little bit this year. And then there's another Mr. Clutch. Good comment, Patrick. You're 100% right. We never talk about this guy enough, but he always makes big plays, and that's Drew Olatarski, the guitar picking man. He seriously, he's always singing songs and writing songs, and he's got that artistic that gene in his body. But yeah, you're right. I'd like Wolotarski to have a big game as well.
So I just sent a message to Andrea Kohutch, who has been a longtime viewer and listener here on Bonfire Sports. Andrea has won the $25 gift card to Shannon's Irish Pub and Eatery, 175 Carlton Street, just a quick shot down from True North Square. They are going to be open for the West Final on Sunday. No. The Bombers are in the Grey Cup. They will be open as well. Awesome food, drinks, TVs, awesome, frankly, just really unique, one-of-a-kind, iconic atmosphere under the streets of downtown Winnipeg. So head on down to Shannon's. Andrea, I just sent you a text. You'll be able to pick up that gift card anytime, but maybe it's as early as Sunday's West Final. Another player to talk about, Chris, on the injured list. Well, I don't even need to show you on the injured list. Here he is, Demario Houston, right? He has been working his way back after suffering a knee injury. This is important for people to know because it was so long ago, it's easy to forget. Yeah. Demario Houston, now in his second season with the Blue Bombers, took the #1 cover corner job on the team, bumping Winston Rose to the field side. Demario Houston was Winnipeg's #1 cover corner, lining up next to Dietrich Nichols. A knee injury derailed him. I believe it was a knee. So he's been working his way back, and he is close. But for the West Final, here, I'll zoom out here a little bit. Desmond Lawrence, former Hamilton Tiger Cat, most outstanding rookie in 2021, cut from their team, joined Winnipeg just over a month ago. He is going to start at corner next to rookie Jamal Parker. This side of the field, maybe less tested and proven, Chris, than Brandon Alexander, Dietrich Nichols, Winston Rose, Alden Darby at the dime and the rest. But boy, these two guys are really, really good. For Lawrence, fantastic cover skills. I didn't see great tackling from him in the regular season game in Vancouver a few weeks ago. But Jamal Parker, he has really come on as of late. This guy is a really good football player.
Yeah, and he talks a lot about it too. He's only 5'8". He's talking about the challenges of going against a guy like Dominic Ryan's a bigger receiver. Brian Burnham, again, these guys, they catch the ball. They make circus-type catches, especially Burnham. He's just got great hands. So, he's up for the challenge. He's had a little NFL experience. He's played down there a little bit. I think, as you say, he's getting stronger every week. He's playing better, and this is where you want to have it. You want to make sure you're playing your best at the most important time of the year. Desmond Lawrence is a bit of a mystery to me. He was a rookie of the year for the Hamilton, and then he got released. That surprised me. Usually you don't cut a guy unless there's some other reason behind the scenes or he just wasn't producing. Maybe it was a system they're running or, whatever, or maybe he just got beat out, but he's in Winnipeg now and obviously getting that start at, short side corner, which is, a very busy side of the field. So we'll have to see how Desmond Lawrence plays tomorrow. They're going to have their work cut. We talked a lot about the Bombers receivers, but listen, BC's got a whole mess of great receivers there too. So this is what I love. It's #1 offense, #1, they're so evenly matched. And then, of course, the guy that we're all going to talk about is, this is Nathan Rourke. He could really shine this game if he plays like he can. I mean, he's got such a quick release. You watch him in the games, he makes such quick decisions to get rid of the football.
It's outstanding.
I mean, he's great for our league. I know they're going to sign him. They're going to pay him a lot of money to stay in BC. But then you got him going against the MVP of the league, the most outstanding player, and that's Zach. And Zach has had 37 touchdowns, only 13 interceptions or something. He just
and
protects
Chris,
the ball.
by the way, Zach Collaros 5-0 in the postseason wearing blue and gold. Did you know that?
No, I did not know. That's a great stat. Well, I anticipated you to come out with a couple of whammers, and that was a good one there. I like
Right.
that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was
Everybody
looking at
knows that.
Zach in 5 quarters against BC, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 23 of 30. I mean, almost 70-something%. So he has really played well against BC. They're going to be at home now. You said it. Is it an advantage for BC? I think Winnipeg was hoping it was going to be just a nasty cold day, and the fact that, as you say, it's not going to be that cold. Does that give a little bit of a benefit to BC? You know what I mean? The fact that they can come in here now and it's not like freezing where they don't have to worry about their fingertips falling off. They can basically, and I know that Nathan was talking about that. Nathan Rourke was talking about the fact that he wanted to make sure that he could hold on to the ball because when it gets cold, it becomes a little slippery. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. So I think it almost plays a little bit, or it gives BC a better opportunity, put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you bring a team from a dome that, you're able to walk down the street in a light jacket, and then you come to Winnipeg, a lot of them flying in, media and the team themselves on Thursday night, Friday night. The wind is howling, the wind, the snow is blowing, the temperature is dropped, and they're like, okay, here we are. This is Manitoba. This is Winnipeg. This is CFL playoff football in the West Division. But the reality is a lot of these guys on the BC Lions have played in conditions like this before. Wade was mentioning a little while ago, Luchez Purifoy, 3 times he has played against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the postseason as a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and he's lost each of those games. But those are cold games. You think of the West Final last season, the West semifinal back in 2019, like cold weather conditions, right? And I don't think it's going to be such a huge determining factor of the type of game we see. The players are saying, the run game will be important. That's almost like derp, no kidding at this point.
That's true.
But I still see Nathan Rourke, his ability to throw the football that he put on display last week, 22 of 30, as you mentioned, 321 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions versus Zach Collaros. And we know how dangerous he can be, with Greg Ellingson back and Dembski and Rashid Bailey, if he's healthy and ready to go, and Drew Wolodarski, and on and on and on you go. Yeah. And you can even include Brady Oliveira into that equation. But to me, the run game will be important, but you really have to look at these 2 quarterbacks. My question to you, Chris, with how limited Nathan Rourke was running with the football, lack of explosion in escaping pressure in the pocket when Sean Lemon and Derek Wigan and those guys were bearing down on him in the West semifinal. Could Winnipeg use that to their advantage when they're scheming their defense against them?
Absolutely. That's what every team does. Every team will look at what another team does, either offensively, defensively, special teams, to see how they can, take advantage. I mean, think about that play that BC did. It looked like they took a play out of the Bombers on that short yardage where Pipkin comes in, fakes a 3rd and 1 and throws a ball to Hatcher and they get it for a touchdown. Completely caught Calgary with their pants down. And that was a big change in the game of momentum. So, that and the Bombers, I mean, this is where you leave, you talked about, do you ever save plays? No, you pull everything out you got right now. You got to let everything go. I mean, there's no sense holding it back. And that's why when we were talking about guys, it's going to be a real tough thing. And I'm going to go back to Rashid Bailey again, just because you talked about a game time decision. This is the biggest game. He had a great playoff run and Grey Cup last year as well. He's a big factor. He's always got the big touchdowns. So I just can't see, unless he's we used to make jokes, unless the guy's got a cast on, he's not playing. So I just can't see him resting, because even if I was a coach, and I know what you're saying, DB, he goes in, he gets hurt right away. But the mentality of saying this could be my final game, for the year, it's tough. I mean, as a player, you always want to be in there. This is going to be a tough decision for them. And I don't know how they're going to do it. But I wouldn't want to be the guy delivering the news to them, put it that way.
Love the comment from Patrick Adamick, who's watching live on YouTube. Cold, hot, rainy, snowy, windy. Doesn't matter. Willie J says, come on down to Winnipeg. It's going to be absolutely electric at the Madhouse on Matheson on Sunday afternoon. Post-game coverage, don't miss it. Right back here on Bonfire Sports, a little bit later than normal, maybe an hour or two, maybe a couple hours after the game. But hey, if the Blue Bombers win, as many, including myself, are expecting, Chris, that celebration is going to go on well into the night and through the week with that pilgrimage west to the Grey Cup city, of course, Regina, and the 109th Canadian Championship. Do you put much weight into the Winnipeg Blue Bombers' final 2 games of the regular season? It finished with a 24-9 win here in Winnipeg, where it was a lot of Dakota Prukop and Antonio Pipkin at quarterback for the two teams. And then, of course, BC's 40-32 win in BC on October 15th, when these two teams knew they could very well meet in the postseason. I can't imagine they showed too much.
No, I agree with that a little bit. I think the fact is that, we got to see a lot of things. And it was very interesting. You mentioned a guy that I think is, I don't know if he'll be here next year. I think he's going to start somewhere, and that's Dakota Prukop. I was listening to Bo Levi Mitchell when he was doing his farewell speech in Calgary, and just talking about to the media and the press, and he said that one of the best quarterbacks he's ever been around, it was one of his rooms, and he said he mentioned Dakota Prukop, saying this kid's got, he's a good football player. So and I love watching. I think O'Shea did a great job of allowing these guys to come in. We saw Drew Brown get some playing time. Now we saw Prukop. Prukop throws the ball nice, man. He's got a great arm. So I mean, they have so much talent even at that position. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I don't put a whole lot of stock in what happened because I think it was just one of those things where they're just letting the other guys get some experience, playing guys, resting guys. It's not your full force. It's not your top lineup that you're probably going to go into the game with. This, to me, for the Bombers and for BC, is their top lineup. I know that BC is really happy to get Joel Figueroa back, their left tackle. And I thought Broxton played pretty good at that tackle position, but now they moved that big boy inside. They got a big offensive line, guys. I mean, they're not bad. And Sook's just chomping at the bit. Sook Chung, come back here, and he wants to change his fortunes out there in BC land. I think he's the highest paid offensive lineman in the league, which blew me away.
Not anymore.
He's not. Who is now?
David Beard.
It's not me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Maybe it used to be. Maybe it used to be.
No. Well, I'll tell you what, I thought it might be Stanley Bryant, because Stanley is, obviously, he's. Well,
you know the inherent value of those Canadians on the offensive line.
Oh, absolutely. Right? That's the thing. And I remember a long time ago when I was a player rep too, and they always wanted, the PA always was the league was really trying to push us to eliminate a number of Canadians and allow more imports to come in. And the problem is, we told those guys, listen, if you got a team that's pure American, you don't have to pay them as much because there's nothing different, right? You're bringing guys in. Where if you got Canadians, you got good ones, you got to pay to keep them, and that works to our nationality. So I think it's a great thing. But yeah, I just think that Figueroa back at that left tackle, Perkins at the right tackle, they got a good offensive line. They ran the ball pretty good. Listen, when you're talking about a team we talk about Nathan Rourke throwing it, but James Butler was the number 2 rusher in the league, just behind Kadeem Carey and just ahead of Brady Oliveira. 1,080, averaging 5 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns. Interesting, though, to go back to our old story, too, Nathan Rourke is your second leading rusher in BC. He averages 7.8 yards a rush. He had rushed 39 times, and he scored 7 touchdowns. So he can beat you with his legs. And I still remember one play he took off around the corner. He just outran everybody. I don't think he's got that kind of speed anymore.
No,
I still think he's going to be, the foot's going to be a little bit sore, but I wonder if they can. I don't know if they can even shoot it up. I'm not sure about that kind of injury, if they can put a painkiller in it. Well, maybe they can. Well, I know that,
I'm sure there's a way.
There's always,
sure gonna, like the diplomatic way to put it these days, Chris, is the player and the team will do whatever they need to do so that player can perform to the best of their ability. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
So whatever that may be, but Nathan Rourke, what I saw from him live in Vancouver, I was there at the game. Right. Fantastic facility and great perspective from a nice low press box at BC Place. But watching Nathan Rourke, he just didn't have that same burst, that same jump that same explosion with his legs when the pocket started to kind of collapse around him, right? He had one carry for 5 yards, and that was nowhere anywhere near a designed run play. When you have that threat and then suddenly an injury limits you with that threat, the Blue Bombers are going to be aware of that, Chris. Nathan Rourke, I would not in any way, shape, or form call him a sitting duck, but he is much, much more limited in his escape ability. And that was a huge reason why he put up such gaudy numbers this first half of the season, was breaking out of the pocket, running with the football. Teams couldn't treat him like most other quarterbacks. They had to respect him. And that's why, the arm and the passing numbers were so high. And because, that run threat was legit.
Okay, well, there's also another thing you got to take in consideration. He came back from an injury. Never thought he was going to come back this year. He played 3 series in his first game back, 3 series. Last game was his first game, like against Calgary last week in the semis. First game, basically playing an entire game. He's got a game under his belt now. You always want to see the live bullets. You have to get the feel for the game again. And I think that works to his advantage. I think if he was coming in today or tomorrow at the West Final and it was his first game back, I think there'd be a different story. But I think he's got that one game in now against a good front four. I mean, Calgary, pretty good, man. So I think Nathan is going to leave it all on the field tomorrow. And that's why I'm excited to watch him, because if he gets time, it could be a different ball game. But, I mean, there's no weakness. I'm trying to break down weaknesses here, right? They got Terry Williams. We got Grant. We haven't talked about our field goals. Maybe that'll be an interesting thing. But he's been, I know.
You could almost give the Blue Bombers the veteran advantage at every single spot except kicker. Shaun White has been doing it in this league for a long, long time. Not a huge distance kicker, but incredibly accurate and consistent against Mark Leggio, who has been punting exceptionally well all season, has only had 2 bad games kicking field goals. One, of course, you could argue a huge factor in a loss this season at home to the Montreal Alouettes. But I think kicking could absolutely play a pivotal role in this game. If there's one area Winnipeg doesn't have a veteran advantage or a depth advantage, it's kicker.
Yeah, I have to take that. I know, and listen, I know that O'Shea just said he's really pleased with how Mark has grown as a kicker. You're going against Shaun White, who's 92.3%, 36 at 39. I mean, Lego's not that bad, actually. You said it right there. He's only had a couple of bad ones, but he's 82%, 32 at 39. So, I mean, you see how close that is. I mean, 6 versus 2 misses by Shaun, or 3 by Shaun White. So it all comes down to just kicking that football, be confident. I'd like to see what the range is. So whoever goes to the game, watch the pregame when they're out there kicking. And it's interesting to do that because you'll find out what his range is. Right. And where he can go, where he feels comfortable. Because you know that O'Shea is going to come and say, what do you think? Are we 50? Now, obviously, if it comes down to it and he's got to kick a 55, he's going to try it if it comes down to that. But if otherwise, it's a game of field position, right? So you don't want to give it a returner a chance, right? So that's what I'm going to wonder what's going to happen. I love watching that part of the game. You'll have a guy kick with the win, against the win. And that's interesting because somebody had a great comment here in the section. One of these guys are ladies and gentlemen there. And they said that the coin toss. And you know what? Right on. Nobody understands how important that coin toss is because if you can defer, especially in an outdoor stadium, and you can defer to the second half, you can play if the wind picks up. And you can have the wind behind you in the fourth quarter when you need it the most. So the coin toss is huge. And that's a great comment. I don't know who put that up there, but you were right on.
No question. I'm just looking at the forecast for Sunday here in Winnipeg, and -5 feels like -8 towards the evening, and nighttime -9 feels like -13, mainly cloudy, scattered flurries going into the evening. But Chris, wind gusts only up to 14 kilometers per hour and lessening from the afternoon into the evening. So I don't know if wind is going to play a huge factor, but no doubt Rick Campbell, head coach of the BC Lions, Mike O'Shea of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, they're going to be watching everything from start to finish
Absolutely.
and see if they can gain that advantage. If there is a weakness that I had to identify in the BC Lions this season, it has been their kick and punt cover teams.
Yes.
They have been susceptible from week 1 through week 21. Even last week, Calgary didn't take real advantage, but that one area is not a strong suit at all for the BC Lions. It could be a big, big day, not just for Janarian Grant, but really the return teams as a whole, because if they can use that to an advantage, you suddenly have at least a touchdown advantage in the Blue Bombers' favor.
Well, the biggest thing it does when you get great returns, and Janarian Grant, as mentioned earlier in this podcast, he's got 2 touchdowns already returned against the BC Lions, but it's a game of field position, and that's the thing you want to win, right? Bombers are one of the teams they always start off with pretty good field position. They're inside, usually about 35 to 40 yard line all the time, and that's a huge thing. And so if you start getting great returns in special teams and do a great job on our cover teams, which I think we have done a really good job. And that's because I think, we talk about Mark Leggio and his field goal, but I think he's as good as anybody punting the football right now because he's doing a lot of directional kicks. So you'll see that. And I got to play with the legend Bob Cameron, who was the best kicker, and as far as I'm concerned, in the league in history. I mean, the guy he just knew how to punt into the wind. And, he's just that good. And I think Leggio is really doing a great job because O'Shea said it to everybody in the media. He says, gone are the days when you just want to punt the ball, 1,000 yards right down the middle. Now it's all direction. It's all pin the cover, stay in there, collapse the guy returning. Don't let him get to the outside. But then, like you said, the return game, they busted one right up against BC a couple times, and then Janarian Grant, when he sees that hole, if he makes the first guy miss, it turns into a race, and he's usually going to win most of those.
Chris, Janarian Grant, to me, is almost like the forgotten stepchild of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers weaponry. He could be used on offense, as Waiters points out here. What's going on, Waiters? Good to see you and everybody here in the live chat, everybody watching live, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you're watching, or Facebook, if you're watching on any of those and you're not able to join the live chat, head over to youtube.com/bonfire sports. Subscribe there. Give us a thumbs up. Helps us out a whole heck of a lot. And then you'll be able to join the live chat and jump in with everybody here and, give us your thoughts, questions, and comments ahead of the West Final. Janarian Grant, to me, Chris, is somebody the Blue Bombers could use as a bit of a secret weapon. And I'm not talking about special teams. I'm talking about on offense. My favorite part of win or go home playoff football is that you have to put all your cards down on the table. You can't take anything home with you, so you might as well use what you got to your advantage. We're going to see things from the BC Lions, offense and defense and special teams, and Winnipeg's, respectively, that we have not seen before. And to me, that brings such a level of intrigue of who might have that little ace up their sleeve and decide to play it when the opportunity comes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the big thing, too, is when I'm looking at this game and any game, they always say it comes down to about 5 plays that really decide the outcome of a game. Obviously, the big thing is you want to protect the football. That's number one. But, deep balls. I mean, Nathan Rourke loves the deep ball. And, he was off a little bit. That's one thing I noticed last week. His deep ball wasn't as accurate. I mean, he threw a couple nice ones, but I know he had a couple guys, and he underthrew them, which was really a surprise against Calgary. Now, he's going to go deep again. He's one of those guys, he likes to, throw the ball deep, whereas I think Zach is more methodical. Zach he'll throw 20-plus yards. He's got, I think he's number 1 in CFL for 20-plus yard completions. But he picks his poison. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to go for everything. It seems like every time he does a big, a touchdown pass is when he's scampering around, running around like a rabbit. And all of a sudden, boom, there he finds a guy in the end zone. I say to myself, how can these guys lose coverage? You think they stay with these guys, but the receivers do a fantastic job of keep working. And Zach finds them and makes the defense pays. They got to keep Zach in the pocket much like we have to keep Nathan in the pocket.
Absolutely. Lynn Reimer, making me laugh here. There's 60-ish people who have not hit the like button. Don't be an HA or, a behind.
Yeah.
I think we can say it. It's YouTube. Don't be an ass. Hit the like button. I would never put it that way, but Lynn does. Thank you, Lynn. Appreciate the support. Get down there right now. Give a thumbs up if you're watching. Appreciate that a lot. And if you're catching this a little bit after on podcast, not too bad for free content, if I do say so myself. The legend Chris Walby getting you set for the West Final. And you will be joining me, Chris, all week long from Winnipeg. I'll be in the Grey Cup City in Regina. So head over to youtube.com/Bonfire Sports. Give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. All of those things help us out a heck of a lot. And then, of course, support our sponsors. Shannon's Irish Pub is Winnipeg's iconic downtown spot. The food, the bevies, the atmosphere, the community, and the good times you will have there. You will not be disappointed. Just a saucer pass down the street from the rink and True North Square, 175 Carlton. Check them out, ShannonsIrishPub.ca. The Blue Bombers are 4-point favorites, Chris. SIA.com/bonfire, another website you need to go to. You get 100% bonus if you sign up through that link. I think it's up to $1,000 right now that they will double back to you when you wager. And the Blue Bombers, I think, are a smart bet on the money line this week. Maybe even if you like the 4 points. Do you like the number that the Vegas experts? Here we go.
With 49 or something, 49
put on
points?
this one.
I think they said plus 49 points combined or something like that. I think
the over-under, 49.
Yeah,
that'll be on the ticker on below there if you guys missed it. But go to SIA.com/bonfire and you'll find it all there.
And I think I gave you I jinxed you last week because I remember we met last week and you were talking about SIA, the Bonfire, and to go there to .com and you said I got money on Hamilton and I was wrong. Calgary. And I swear to God, I was sitting there at the wife and I started laughing. I said, "Oh boy, DB's not going to be happy because I can see that money flying away, baby. It's gone."
Yeah, but you know what? On the whole, doing quite well on SIA.com this season.
I was blown away. You say you could actually get in there, even at halftime and place a bet, which surprised me because I thought usually, and I'm not a betting guy too much, but I always wondered if that's something, I always thought you had to put your bet in and you couldn't change it once it's in.
Right.
I don't think you can change it, but I didn't know you could go in at halftime and make a bet.
You can.
I know that's amazing. That's an amazing advantage for some guys. I mean,
yeah, second quarter, third quarter. If you kind of get an inkling of the way you think the game is going, you can jump in there, play the over/under, play the point spread, the money line, those sorts of things. Your odds will change as the game goes on, but very cool that.
That's what happens. Okay,
you're able to do that, right?
If I was going to go in a third quarter, it's 25-0. Obviously, I'm thinking
easy money.
Yeah, but obviously not going to give you much return on that because of the fact that the score is so out of whack.
So, Chris, John D, who's watching live on YouTube, says, "Has anyone seen a picture of the field yet? I have not, but I have seen the field in person." And I think it's almost a good thing. It has been an absolutely wild weekend at IG Field because it's been the high school championships, the major bantam and minor football championships as well. That field is getting a good workout right now, which will keep it loose, supple, soft, and pliable. The snow will not, be too much of an issue on there because they're not going to have to remove too much with games going on right now. I'm expecting the field to be in superb condition on Sunday. The crews were out there early yesterday morning, getting it ready for the Blue Bombers to hit the practice field. The guys are showing up at IG Field at like 5:30, 6:30 in the morning. And then we ask them about it this week. And they're just like, yeah, that's kind of normal. Been doing that since, June.
Yeah.
So, they know how to get to work.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I saw it. It's funny you talking about that. I did see a picture on Facebook of the field and they were cleaning it off and doing a scraping. It's funny you mentioned that too. A big shout out to the Kildonan East Reavers, KE, I think it. My two grandkids played on that team, and they won the high school championship Division III. So Aiden and Declan, congratulations on your big win. We were at the stadium, and I got to tell you, we were there Wednesday night, and it was cold. That wind was cut. I was wearing a coat and toque and everything and mitts. I froze. I felt like in the old days when I had my hockey skates on and my toes were frozen. I even had socks on this time. So I broke down. And I don't usually wear socks because I usually can't see my feet anyway. But,
Chris, before we get into your keys to the game, do you have a favorite playoff memory, whether it was in Winnipeg or somewhere else when, the weather conditions were like this?
Yeah.
Winter, cold, snow, but frankly, very playable conditions that, is kind of a hallmark of Canadian football playoffs.
We played Edmonton and the Eskimos at that time, not the Elks. And at home in a playoff game, I believe it was a semifinal game. And the field was ice. And because they covered it and they took the tarp off, it started to freeze. So the field was like, just crazy. So it was ice. It was cold. I was playing against a guy named Brent the Toaster Williams.
The Toaster.
The Toaster, man. And I was going against him. And it's funny because we watched the film after. And everybody is sliding everywhere. And me and the Toaster are locked right in. And we're not moving. I'm not moving a yard off the line. He's not moving a yard off the line. We're pushing. He goes, "What are you wearing?" I go, "Screws." "You?" "Staples." Because we fixed our shoes. So when everybody else was sliding, we were the only two guys in the film that were staying on the line of scrimmage. And this is funny because even though you're in a game and you don't like the guy, we had such a good laugh about that during the game. And it's tough because usually in the game, you're hating everybody, and this was just one of those things that we both walked back to our respective huddles and just started laughing.
Chris, do you got a prediction of who the winner of this West Final will face on November 20th in Regina? Who's coming out of the East?
That is going to be – listen, that's another storyline. The fact that Andrew Harris is back, what an exciting time for the young man to come back. I mean, they've got a great team anyway. I think
August 17th.
Yeah.
Argos head coach Ryan Dinwiddie said, and I quote, "He is done for the year with pectoral surgery."
And he came back.
12 weeks.
Healed. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, he's doing a Nathan Rourke kind of thing.
He's been a full participant in practice all this week. He's listed as the number 2 running back behind AJ Ouellette with the Argos.
Well, I like that kid too. Ouellette is a horse. He is a power runner too. But Andrew just gives you that experience, Grey Cup experience, playoff experience. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a great blocker. That's the big thing. And they've won, I think, Toronto's beat Montreal 2 out of 3. But the games, all 3 games have been decided by a total, all 3 games, of only 7 points. 2 of them were 1-point games. So this is just throw the cards up on the air and see where it comes down. I like Toronto. I think Toronto's going to do it. Look at that. Okanagan's son win the Canadian Bowl. Wow.
Michael O'Shea Jr., member of the Okanagan Sun. He's a Canada Bowl champion in Canadian junior football.
Wow. What and Regina had they're a tough team to beat. They're always good.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Rifles nearly knocked them off 3 times this year, but just fell short.
Well, that's pretty good, man. I like that, though. But, hey, getting back to us, I'm going to say this. I think Toronto, then again, you told me this about 3 shows ago that you talked to an unidentified guy, and you wouldn't tell me the name, but I kind of figured it was. And you said at that time that this guy thought that Montreal was a team to beat.
Yeah. He
felt that Montreal is coming on at the right time. And you got to think about it. I mean, obviously, when you're looking at the quarterbacks, hey, Machocho turned that team around. I didn't think he's going to be, and he's got that team. I think they won 6 or last 7 games. Trevor Harris is throwing the ball. They got their running back, Stanback, coming back. I mean, he actually played pretty good last week. So, yeah, this is going to be a classic. But they got Toronto again. I love Toronto. I like their quarterback. I think McLeod Bethel-Thompson doesn't get the respect he deserves. He throws as good a ball as anybody in the CFL. They got good receivers. They got good running backs, but I like the Toronto defense. That's the thing I like. Man, they got Oakman in the middle. He's a big 6'9", tall piece of grass. Then you got, Winston McManus back playing. He's back for a knee injury. So they've got
player, man.
Listen, both of these games are just going to be great to watch. I mean, I watched both of the games last week, and they were classics. They're very good games. But, I just got this feeling Toronto's going to come out. And somebody said that. Wouldn't it be interesting? Winnipeg, Toronto, Andrew Harris coming back to the Grey Cup, playing against his old teammates. That'll be a hell of a storyline. And you'll be out there in Regina because they can't take me. They said, you stay in Winnipeg. We can't pay you.
Right. Well, it's either you sleep in the bathtub or I sleep in the bathtub. And I don't think either of those things are happening. So you'll hold the fort down here in Winnipeg. But you'll be here live on Bonfire Sports a heck of a lot through the week. So here's what's what, Chris. This is the Western final. Eastern final a little bit earlier on Sunday. But media and our ability to talk to the players and coaches, that time is over for this week. So I am going to bring up a comment here. It's kind of reading my mind a little bit. I think it's time we mention this.
What's that?
Kyle on YouTube says, does O'Shea stay in Winnipeg or does he go back home and coach the Argos? Mike O'Shea's contract expires this offseason. It is something not a lot of people have been talking about, but everybody is aware of. He entered this year and will not talk about his contract expiring. Is this a football operations cap move to maybe keep things flexible until they know what's what? Buck Pierce, Richie Hall, Danny McManus, and Ted Gavaya, general manager Kyle Walters, Mike O'Shea. How do they all fit moving forward? You don't sign one-year contracts as coaches and GMs in the CFL. No. Assistants do, coordinators do, but not head coaches, GMs, and assistant GMs. So this will no doubt be a conversation during Grey Cup week. We touch on it now, Chris. How do you see this unfolding? Is there a little bit of what's under the surface here?
I'm a little surprised, to be honest. This is a guy who's up for Coach of the Year against Ryan Dinwiddie of Toronto. I mean, he's Coach of the Year. He's done a remarkable job. 15-3. They're 28-2 since 2018. I mean, what more can you ask of a coach? And I don't understand why you wouldn't want to blow him up with a big salary right now. I think that Danny McManus might be gone. I think we'll probably lose him in the offseason. I think there's a lot of teams are looking for him to maybe because he's assistant GM, and I think he's going to move on to that. But I don't. If I was and I know Wade's thinking about this too, but maybe. Because the worst thing you want is just to be a distraction in Grey Cup week, right? I think Winnipeg and Toronto are going to win. So I think that, you don't want to go to the Grey Cup and have everybody going, hey, what's going on? And you definitely don't.
You're going to have all that Toronto media there too, potentially.
Well, exactly, right. Now, would he go home? Great question. I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's got something here, but he's built things here. I mean, he went from, 6 wins, 7 wins, and all of a sudden now, 15 wins. So, I mean, he's doing something right, but he's hired great guys. And I remember Don Matthews once said one thing, the head coach who's passed on, rest in peace, Don, hire coaches that are better than you. Don't hire subordinate, people that just bow and count out to you. You want to have guys that are better than you. And you'll see teams that lose coaches. Now, you're talking about, it's interesting, we talked about O'Shea. Now you talk about Buck Pierce. Buck Pierce's name is being bandied about too. I mean,
I don't see that happening. Right? That's just my gut feeling.
You think it's gone?
Listen,
you don't think so, eh?
No, my gut tells me Buck Pierce isn't going anywhere. You got to understand, when you make that jump from coordinator to head coach, you better have your ducks in a row. And I'm not saying Buck Pierce doesn't, but he has been an offensive coordinator for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think he knows how difficult that is to do. Look at Jason Moss. Look at Ryan Dinwiddie. I understand he's the East Division nominee, but it hasn't been a smooth course for Ryan Dinwiddie. Look at Kahari Jones, right? He was given a long leash in Montreal, and it didn't work out for him. The GM, Danny Machocha, takes over, and suddenly they're 1 win away from a Grey Cup appearance. I just don't believe at this point in time Buck Pierce is champing at the bit, for lack of a better way to put it, to look for a head coaching opportunity.
Yeah, and that's why I think
just my gut.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because I'm torn a little bit, because there's teams out there, they look at production. And I agree, he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's only 2 years as an offensive coordinator, but he also had a couple years under Paula Police. Now, they're talking about, there's the rumor mill. The rumor mill is saying that Paula Police might be the head coach in Saskatchewan now. They might pull him or the OC, depending what they do. He won't be the head coach.
People I've talked with, Chris, they do not believe the Saskatchewan Roughriders are going to make a change at the top. It's going to be Jeremy O'Day at GM next season. It's going to be Craig Dickinson.
Offensive coordinator, I'm talking.
OC.
I think Paul LaPolice is going to go to Saskatchewan. I mean, I know he landed on his feet doing the TSN, talking heads out there, but I can see Paul going to Saskatchewan. I mean, once football's in your blood, and I know he likes doing the broadcast thing, but you're flying to Toronto every week to do those broadcasts. They're probably paying him a pretty penny to do that, but there's no such thing or it replaces the thrill of being on a sideline and you're running a team. So he hasn't worked out for Paul as a head coach, but I definitely think he's, running in one of the best OCs out there. And that's a good. We have to talk contract, baby. That's what's happening here. Patrick, thanks for bringing it up, brother. Does he get compensated in kegs? Do I wish? Do I wish?
Your agent is a bulldog, man. I don't even want to get into it. That's my winter ahead. I'm not looking forward to it. How many years was Mike O'Shea a special teams coordinator in Toronto before the Winnipeg Blue Bombers hired him? Well, he was an assistant and then a special teams coordinator. I'm thinking around 5 or 6 years before he took the head coaching job in Winnipeg. And even at that time, people said, is Mike O'Shea a proven enough coach? Like, you're handing the reins from as a special teams guy to be a head coach. Lots of special teams coordinators in the CFL have gone on to successful careers as head coaches. Mike O'Shea, probably just the latest of them. Did you know Rick Campbell, head coach of the BC Lions, mentioned today that he was hired one day after Mike O'Shea was hired in Winnipeg? Of course, that was with the Ottawa Red Blacks for Rick Campbell.
I'm a big fan of Rick Campbell. I like the way he's very much a clone of O'Shea. They both are creating this outstanding culture in the locker rooms. People want to play in BC again. They've got a great owner. I think that's a huge thing. He's doing so much good for that team. He's getting fans. He's got sections. He's going out to towns and bringing people in from other areas of BC, which is, I think, fantastic. It's a big thing because I thought BC, to me, was one of those teams that is such a backbone of the CFL, and you had to have them pick it up. And so it's a great story for BC to be where they are right now. Toronto, obviously, another great story. They're trying to do things. I know they're still trying to get the fan base up a little bit in TO. But yeah, I'm happy where we're going. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. It's all about the direction you go, right? Like Bruce Martell mentions here, Mike O'Shea, first few years weren't great, but Wade Miller stuck by him, patiently waited for the culture shift. Kyle Walters too, right? The GM hires the coach and the coach coaches the players. But that triumvirate, the Canadian Mafia, as they're affectionately referred, has definitely done a fantastic job. And, as Vicky Short points out here, 3 in a row, that would be a dynasty, but still work to be done ahead of that. When it comes to that work, Chris, before we give away a pair of tickets to Sunday's game, let's have your keys to the game in the West Final.
It's interesting because there's 3 keys. And I think really is special teams is going to be a huge thing. Win the field position battle. I think you got to do a good job covering, and you got to, allow Janarian Grant some room to return. The biggest one, though, seriously, in this weather, even when it's like only -5 or -7, whatever it's going to be, you must protect the football. That is the number one key for both of these teams if they have any chance. If you turn the ball over, you lose this turnover battle. It's you're basically packing plastic bags the next day. You're going home. And I think that both teams want to get good first down production. You don't want to be sitting second along because both of these teams, BC and Winnipeg, have got great rushers on the defensive line. And that, my friend, are the keys.
All right. Well, Chris, I'm trying to think of how to give these tickets away.
That's a great question. Man.
Well, I'm going to do what we have always done, and that is to get you out there to text the hotline 204-816-8477.
Yeah.
816 tips. What color is Chris Walby's hat? That's what I want you to text me right now. Hint, by the way, is it BC Lions orange?
I'm not going to tell you. You know what color it is.
I know what color it is. Out there, they're going to say orange because looks pretty orange, but I know for a fact, there it is. Transcona
Railers.
Okay.
That's a hockey team. That's a junior answer. Yeah, it's red.
That's a good red hat. Not a bad red hat. That's a good red hat.
And black.
Well, people are already calling the hotline.
I'm not
Don't-
cheering on the Lions, for God's sakes.
Don't call the hotline. Text the
Marbles.
hotline. 204-816-8477, 816-TIPS. What
That's
color
funny,
is Chris Walby's hat? Give me your name and email address as well, and that way I'll be able to send you a pair of tickets. We'll do a nice random draw, but I'll see. Yeah, you see, there you go. Hold it up against your blue shirt. What do you got on there? Kitty cat? What is that?
Yeah, my granddaughter. Give me a little, I don't know what that thing is. What is that? A sticker? Some kind of sticker right there?
I think that's that's the he's dressed up as Dracula there. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Okay.
You know, when your granddaughter puts stuff on your hat, you wear it. That's just the way it is, baby.
It's just the way it is. No, you are a family man, Chris. True and true. That's why I love you, brother.
Right.
This has been a real pleasure as always. Looking forward to doing another pregame show with you ahead of the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes. We'll do some stuff during the week too.
Absolutely. Yeah. We got the CFL Awards, State of the League from Commissioner Randy Ambrosi, practices, press conferences, fan events. Bonfire Sports will be all over it, getting you set for the 109th Grey Cup. So text right now. If you can't text, send an email. I'm pretty sure some of you did this before. WPGsports@gmail.com. But you want to text the hotline, 816-8477. Don't forget the 204 area code. What color is Chris Walby's hat? Give me your name and your email address so I can send you those 2 tickets in the lower bowl to the West Final on Sunday.
To be a great, great game. The atmosphere. I tell you, if there's a game to go this year, this is it. It's the last game, no matter what, and for the year. I think it's a sellout. I know they were close to a sellout yesterday.
They're a couple thousand short, right? But it's going to sell out. I'm quite confident. So if you don't win these tickets, jump on it right now. This is an opportunity for witnessing history live in person at the Madhouse on Matheson.
And we're going to do something next year, maybe even next week if we get to. We don't have tickets, but for a Grey Cup. But next year, if Shannon's is with us again, we're going to give 2 tickets to them. So they can have a little raffle at their, during the week, whatever. And that'd be great to get them involved. And I'm sure they'd love that too.
Yeah. No, Shannon's is where you want to be on game day, right? Whether it's Jets games, home or away, Bombers games, home or away, they will be open this Sunday for the West Final. The Bombers are in the Grey Cup. They're going to be open and have a great Grey Cup party. The food, the drinks, the atmosphere, unmatched. Head down to Shannon's Irish Pub and Eatery, 175 Carlton in the heart of downtown. Chris, big ups as always, my friend. Enjoy this week. It's going to be so much fun. Looking forward to it. And we will talk in just a couple days. Post-game show, Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire, a little bit later following the West Final, but we will be doing a post-game breakdown here on the channel.
Right on, brother. Listen, enjoy the game. It's going to be a great one. I'm telling you right now, people, make noise. Let's show Nathan Rourke the right way to go back to BC. Crying like a cat.
Enjoy, everybody. Appreciate you.
Adios, my friends. I got to say out once I do this thing, and just there it goes. See, watch. Goodbye.